It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
This one is from Mary. I like this one. She said, I have a question, fellas, ! She's excited. By the way, hold on, time out. Is Beanie Weenies not something that everyone in the world knows about? Because we have so many comments coming through. People are like, what are Beanie Weenies? It's
so fun because was it 2 days ago? I got a comment from because I guess I used the word hankering. I had a hankering for something. We take stuff for granted, Bo, but keep going. Beanie Weenies didn't raise any eyebrows here.
It's just like it's
Beans and Franks.
It's Beans and Franks.
Is that the fancy? I don't even know if that's fancy.
Hot dogs.
Beans and Franks.
I don't know if that's fancy. All right, I'll get back to Mary's question. I have a question, fellas! ! What is considered too much in one's portfolio? Now, I thought for a second, I was like, oh, this is prospect, but she's asking a different question. She said, my portfolio has about 10 mutual funds and ETFs. Is that too much? She said, in quotes, let's talk about diversification in small portfolios or in smaller portfolios versus larger portfolios.
Well, look, with smaller portfolios, this is why we give so much advice to younger savers. There's people talk about consumerism and salespeople. There's all kind of people in the financial world that love to get into your wallet. This is why I think the Money Guy Show has done so well with the abundance cycle, is that we tell you, don't go hire anybody. I think the most important thing for younger savers you can focus on is the behavior, developing that habit of deferred gratification, the adult marshmallow test, where you are taking just a little bit of today for a great big beautiful tomorrow later. So you don't need to focus on making it complicated. Complication comes to you naturally. I'm telling you, when you daydream about all the complicated things that are going to come to you, don't do that because it's going to happen naturally with success. What you need to focus on is the behavior, and that's why you really, if you have less than $400,000, I'm okay with you having one investment.
Yep.
A target retirement fund, and buy the index variety that they offer at Vanguard, at Fidelity Investments, Charles Schwab. They all have super low-cost options that have zero commissions. Their internal expenses are practically zero, and they are fully diversified. I mean, it's the easy way to do it. So that way, yes, if you have less than $400,000 and you have 10 separate mutual funds that you are individually having to go in there and tweak the asset allocation over time, I think you're adding complication for no reason.
So now let's talk about larger portfolios. Let's assume, Mary, Mary, let's assume that you have a big portfolio and you're thinking how many, does more funds mean more diversification? Does more holdings mean it's a more well thought out portfolio? Absolutely not. We've seen portfolios that come in all the time and they might have 50 different funds, 50 different ETFs in them. And it may be a $5, $6, $7, $8 million portfolio. We may distill it down to 12, 15, 20. I mean, it varies based on the individual circumstance. This is what I think is so interesting. And I know that you had this with a family member. They had a 401k and they told you, you know what, Brian, I listened to one of your shows and I went and diversified. I hold 4 different funds inside of my 401k. I own blah, 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 growth and income, and then blah, 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 growth, and then blah, growth, blah, blah, and then growth, blah, blah, blah.
Growth opportunity,
right? And she said, hey, I'm diversified, right? And when we actually looked at the underlying holdings, they were buying the same stuff. They were all just large cap blended funds. Perhaps more doesn't necessarily mean diversification. Make sure you understand what you're owning. And that is why if you do graduate past that point that a target retirement fund may not be the perfect fit for you any longer, perhaps a financial advisor is someone that can step in and help you with a more sophisticated portfolio
because that probably leads to the next question. People ask, well, gosh, if you're saying one fund will do it all, why would I need you guys? Why grad? Because look, the reality is everybody who comes in the doors is completely different. You might have a lot of tax-deferred assets, some after-tax assets, and a group of Roth assets. Those are all taxed completely different and should hold completely different asset types. So that's where we talk about asset location. We talk about diversification of your taxable, different type of tax accounts. All that comes into play, charitable giving, retirement planning, because it's not just the investment management. It's also what are the life decisions. That's why we can be so confident in saying, don't hire anybody, just go do the behavioral stuff. It's because we know the complication's going to happen naturally. You'll get successful enough. You'll need us at some point.